Love it or hate it, social media has become an integral part of modern day life, especially when it comes to advertising your business. In this podcast, we're joined by Katie Lamond, head of social media at RØDE Digital Marketing Agency, who gives us her expert opinion on some common misconceptions and themes in the industry.
Each piece of content needs to be purposeful, it needs to be informative or add value, or and it should all be about the person reading it, not be about the business.
Katie and her team are responsible for making social media work for businesses, and there's a lot more to it than posting on Facebook and hoping for the best.
One of the objectives for social media should be about building a perception of your brand and what you stand for and your values, and you want to relay that to a customer. So if you've kind of got different messages and it's a bit disjointed, then you're just going to confuse people.
We dive into what it takes to create a social media strategy and what measures of success you should and shouldn't be focused on.
You're better off having 100 engaged followers than 10,000 when nobody engages at all.
We consider the value of hiring a digital marketing agency versus taking on the beast in-house.
If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
With so many pieces of the puzzle to consider, it's difficult for business owners to know where to start with social media activity. TikTok versus Instagram, followers versus engagement, time versus cost. What's the secret recipe for success?
It's not for the faint-hearted. You've got to have patience, you've got to have consistency, you've got to have resilience, you've got to trust the process.
There's no doubt that for many companies, embarking on a digital marketing journey can seem like a minefield. So tune in for tips, advice, and myth-busting for business owners looking to navigate the world of social media. With your host, George Ceuca.
How did you start it? What's the story? What's the backstory? Let's find out about Katie and how she discovered the passion for social.
Probably the fact that it's the most conversational type of marketing. You know, I've always been a bit of a geek. From when I was little, always loved ads. Okay, so I'd always watch TV and always be really interested in the ad breaks more than most people, and always like, I really like the trick that they did of that ad to make you, like that. And then as I grew up, I then started working in newspaper advertising and creating display adverts for newspapers, and then to a directory, and everything kind of had a bit of a strict formula. But then with the rise of social media, that was the one where the business owners could be in control of how they promote themselves, and rather than having to rely on third parties the whole time, being able to be in control of your message and and the fact that it's constantly changing as well. So it's not just putting your message out there. It's always, I love learning. So always constantly learning and developing all the time is why I like social media, and then reason why I think businesses should like social media.
So let's go back on one thing that I want to know a bit more about. So you used to work for newspapers, right?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for coming.
Sections. It's free newspaper, which would be funded purely by the advertising. So everybody would have an area, and we would look after all the businesses within that area. And you'd look at what they build relationships and look at what they want to promote. And then a lot of the time you'd run different features each week. So you might have a restaurant feature or a homes and gardens feature. So you'd then get all of your advertisers to advertise in the feature, and they'd take it in turns to have a little bit written about them as well.
So how was the shift from newspaper to social, which is quite, I think social media is a bit more upbeat, isn't it?
Yes.
Comparing to newspapers. So
yes.
How was that transition for you?
Good, because do you know the challenge that I like the most from social media, the misconception, not so much now, but at the very, very beginning, what made me really like that switch is because when my customers, my advertisers would say to me, social media isn't for me because social media is all about for the young people, when actually all the young people had adopted social media straight away, but the market that they would be looking at would kind of be a 30 pluses, would probably be the majority of my customers. That was where it was, those were the new adopters of it. So that was the bit where people, that was the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. So newspapers, then you moved towards social media. Did you start it straight away with Vuba, or was it another company that you worked with for how was it? Let's find out step by step. I want to find out the story. I want to go on a journey with you now in the past and find out a bit more about you. And
so I went from newspapers, and then always when you do advertising in local press, the next natural step would then be to go to one of the directories. That would be the next step up. So I then got a job with the Yellow Pages, which was the big old Yellow Pages, which was massive, and we used to walk down the street carrying all these big books, and it was in its prime, and it was a really, really good place to work. The training was amazing. It was a really great company to work for. Also, the advertising was really good because it was a directory. So to sell the advertising was a lot easier to businesses because people were advertising a place where people would already be looking for what they provide. Mm-hmm. It was just a question of getting them chosen more than the competitors that were on the page. So you could be really good and really creative with the advertising that went into their adverts. So and I loved it. I really loved helping the business owners, develop their businesses, because you really could, because you'd look at their business as a whole on what their business is looking to achieve over the next sort of 12 to 18 months. And then you could help them with that, it's normally because they want to grow. You normally look at where they're going to get that growth from, delivering marketing campaigns that are going to help deliver the leads that they need. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of newspapers to directories. And then, so your question, how did I then go to Vuba? It got to the point where Yellow Pages wasn't so much about the directory anymore. It moved online. You had gel.com, which was good, but then there was lots of the market kind of was moving in the direction of more businesses were demanding more independent relationships. They wanted more tailored solutions for their businesses, where business needs were changing so much. The solutions were changing very quickly. So you needed to be a bit more agile. And a friend of mine introduced me to Tony, the MD of Vuba. Mm-hmm. I'd worked with my friend. She had worked with Tony at a different company. And, what his small agency was exactly what I was looking for, that I could work with businesses on an individual level and tailor our solutions to help their individual business needs.
I'm wondering now, as you are the head of social media at Vuba, how hard was it to get to that point, to become the head of social media at Vuba?
So what happened was I started off with Vuba doing sales, so kind of an extension of what I was doing at Yale, going to meet businesses, providing all of the solutions to them for whatever would fit their business needs. But then, obviously, talking about then COVID happened, and we realised there wasn't anybody managing. There was a manager of our SEO team, our pay-per-click team, our content team, but there wasn't a manager who was in charge of the social media team.
Right.
And we recognised that was an area that was for growth. We wanted to be able to serve our clients properly in that area and to be able to deliver really good solutions and make sure that we keep up with the latest trends and everything else, so we could deliver them for our clients. So that's when I said, right, I would be more than happy to look after the social media team, and that's where it started.
That's amazing. You were saying earlier that actually, you were looking after your clients in a more individual level. Would that include the strategy side? Would you have a one-to-one with a client and build up a strategy with them? Is that like the first step in social media, or? Yes,
absolutely. That is the first step. Actually, having said that, the first step would be look at what the objectives are, look at what the business is looking to achieve. Ask any business owner. They're going to say, we just want more business. However, you need to dig a little deeper than that, because it isn't just, what business is it that is most profitable or is easiest to get, or, there'll be more to it than that. Then look at what the buying process of their customers is like. And then you look at all the different marketing elements that they need. And then obviously in our case, where social media would fit into that. And then we create a strategy.
Right. So how do you develop a social media strategy for a business?
So what we need to look at, first of all, look at the objectives. Then we look at who are they looking to talk to. So who are the people that you need to talk to? Most businesses will probably have not just what, you hear about like who's your ideal client. Most businesses will probably have a couple of little pockets of clients. Some will probably be good for volume, some will be good for profit, some will be good for reputation and to be spreading word of mouth or loyal customers. So you need to kind of identify each of those customer personas, and once you've done that, that's the absolute key, because everything else that you do after that, you're hanging it back onto who your ideal customer is. You're not just creating content or design, you're talking to that particular person.
Right, so it's a bit more comprehensive.
Yes.
And, in terms of the key metrics, how do you measure the success of a social media campaign?
So again, it depends on what the objectives are of the individual business, but the most common ones that you should always keep an eye on would be impressions and reach. So impressions will be how many times has in this case, let's talk about a piece of content, okay? An organic post. So how many times has that organic post been seen? The reach will be how many individuals that has been seen by. So those are kind of metrics that you need to keep an eye on the whole time, because that'll also give you clues as to what's happening with the algorithm as well. Because sometimes you'll see dips in your impressions and reach. It could be something to do with what you've done, but a lot more of the time it would be there's some changes going on in the algorithm, which means you then need to go and make sure you do some thorough research on what's happening. Then the other ones to be looking at is your engagement rate. So a lot of people will chase the follower numbers. It's all about the follower numbers.
So we know.
However, for me, followers are good because on the surface they can show somebody visits a page and you want to have a quick glance, and if you've got a lot of followers, it can promote sort of reputability and reputation. However, you're better off having 100 engaged followers than 10,000 when nobody engages at all. For a couple of reasons. One, it shows publicly that those are real followers that are really engaged with your brand, and that you're that you're talking about the right things that are relevant to your audience. But more importantly, the algorithm puts a lot of weight behind engagement rates. So again, if you've got 20,000 followers and no one's posting, so no one's engaging, it's everything that you post it's got to work a lot harder. Whereas you've got a lot less followers and it's good engagement, your impressions and reach are going to be higher.
I believe that earlier you touched up a really important point, which is the followers. There are clients that they approach you, and I'm sure, and I assume that they are asking you, can you get me 20,000 followers this year? How do you explain them to you? Actually, can you do that? Actually, let's put it that way. Can you achieve 20,000 followers? Is that really important for them? Is it? Because as you mentioned earlier, it's not really important to have that many followers. It's important to have genuine people, right?
Yes.
What would you tell people or business owners that they're more interested in the amount of followers they have rather than the engagement?
First of all, I'd get to the bottom of why they want those amount of followers, first of all. And then most of the time it will be going back to either because their competitor has got 15,000 followers, so they want to get more than the competitor, or it'll be because about reputability. They think it makes them look more reputable.
Yeah.
So I'd sit down and we would talk about, first of all, obviously why, and then I'd try and do that little educational piece on, the difference between followers and engagement and what it truly means. However, there'll always be a need for some growth and to add followers on, genuine followers. And there are other things that you can do to do that. So I would say maybe let's bring the target down. Let's start using the right methods. Let's start building up. And it kind of also depends on what activity they've done prior to that. So if they're coming to us having not done any activity at all, probably quite easy to add some followers on, because any activity is going to, help. However, if they're kind of using all the best practices at the moment, it's going to be a little bit different. You need to think a little bit more outside the box of what they want to do. But the first sort of steps that I would then take from there would be, if they really want to, they could do some boosted posts. So again, there's a misconception about boosted posts on Instagram and Facebook that you ask people if you've run ads, they say, yeah, I have. But actually, again, drill down, it's actually boosted posts, where the main objective of boosted posts are engagement. So from that, you'll collect followers from your page and get people to like and comment on your content that you're putting out. So, you know, if they really want to push hard, then that's kind of maybe a stop that we do, as long as we're targeting, again, with a targeted approach, to make sure that the people that we are adding on and getting to engage are going to be genuine to their business needs. And then the second one that I would do, and probably the most important, would be to do external engagement. So have a look at, going back to, who are your people, who are your customers that want to do business with you. Where are they? Who else are they following? Where are they hanging out? What are they posting? So go along and support their content, support what they're doing, support your existing customers' content as well, because, you know, that's all really important. Keeps you front of mind. It will keep you also front of mind for them to encourage other people. Mm-hmm. And then look at where they're hanging out. What other industry people are they following? You know, and show up there and show that you're an industry authority.
Wow, there's quite a lot to do behind that. That sounds like a full-time job, you know. So, do you think consumers are still following brands, or they believe more the brands that have a lot of followers? Before, it was actually a thing. If you have 150,000 followers and you're, let's say, an influencer, people would more likely believe you rather than a micro influencer which has 5,000 followers. The same applies with businesses. People will go with businesses that have thousands of followers against the opposite. Do you think this is still on the market a valid thing, or?
Yeah, do you know, really good point. And actually, that's the other one that I do talk about, which I've forgotten. So if you remember, back in the day with Instagram was really clunky to use. And that search bar might as well have not been there, because you go into the search bar on Instagram and you're looking for, let's say you're looking for a studio to hire. Yeah. Okay. You could type that in, but you're not going to get studio to hire. You're going to get anyone that's ever mentioned studio from a long time ago, and it won't be relevant. But more recently, Instagram have put a lot of activity behind that search when people are searching to become more relevant. So, and obviously over the course of time, you're collecting, over the period of time, you're following more people and more pages. So the list that you're following has grown over a long time. So it's really hard. You followed a page one week. Can you recall the name of that page the next week? We've all done it. I do it all the time. I love that, but I can never recall it. So so again, follower numbers are becoming less relevant from that point of view as well. I'd say it's probably more relevant for things where you're going to need an ongoing need. So for example, training, PTs for training programs, recipe books, because you're going to want to see new workouts all the time. You want to see new recipes all of the time. But if it's something like kitchens, and if you're looking to buy a new kitchen or bathroom or something like that, you need it for a smaller period of time. Once you've fitted out, you fit it out, and then it's gone. Yeah. So again, another reason why follower numbers are probably less important. And I think another factor that I know is quite popular on the market currently, it's the blue tick. Yeah. So loads of businesses, they want the blue tick. Can businesses get blue tick, or is it just... So really topical question because now...
right, now you can buy the blue tick.
You can buy the blue tick.
I was quite being quiet here, right? And thinking about it. Should I?
You can buy the blue tick. Obviously, with Elon Musk taking over Twitter, has kind of, he's coming with all these new ideas, and it's kind of a bit of a roller coaster at the moment with what's going on over there in Twitter. But it's then sort of having a knock-on effect, whether other social platforms will say they've had the idea bubbling for a long time, or Elon Musk is saying no, they're just copying him.
Instagram, it's doing that now as well, yes. Right? Are they in testing phase now with the blue tick?
So yes,
I think it goes in the States.
They've rolled it out in Australia and the States, soon to be coming here, apparently.
Right.
But there's the question I'd ask, and everybody is asking is, what weight does the blue tick hold now, knowing that you can go and buy it?
I think that would have been my next question. What happens with the people or the influencers or anyone that has invested a lot of time in getting that blue tick? What does that mean for them now? Is that, obsolete? Is that just another thing that you buy? What's the next thing then in that case? If the blue tick is so accessible, what would be the next big thing, for instance? Would you know? Would you?
The super blue tick.
Oh, the super blue tick.
I think there's going there. You know, there's, and again, these are only ideas at the moment, but I think they're talking about bringing out a higher level of tick. And I don't think that would be by any means anyone that's got a blue tick at the moment will just automatically get upgraded. I don't think it's ever going to be as simple as that. They're probably going to look at monetizing, stripping out people that maybe they don't want to have blue ticks anymore. I don't know, but it's a really interesting space to be in at the moment.
Instagram is shifting a lot, and I think it's quite influenced by TikTok. Wouldn't you think so? I think there's a lot of things that Instagram currently has adapted based on the changes that TikTok currently had on the market.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, TikTok, I mean, again, TikTok's another interesting place at the moment. It's very topical, very political, what's happening. And, you know, is TikTok going to be banned from government phones? And, you know, so there's a lot of, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think, you know, the future of TikTok is safe. It's, you know, it's growing fast, and it's kind of, that's where all the spotlight is going. So I think TikTok is safe. The issue that regional businesses have is the advertising isn't regional on TikTok at the moment. So it's all about the content, creating lots of consistent content all of the time. That's got to be quick. Get your message in really quickly, and you're gone. You know, they're expanding the time, as you probably know. You know, expanding the time that your TikToks can go on for. So that's good. So, you know, and they're going to be doing live streaming, which is going to happen a lot more. So you need to be on TikTok. You need to test what works. What works on TikTok is going to be different to what works on Reels.
So do you think that businesses should migrate to TikTok or use them both together? Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, ?
Repurpose content take one piece of content, but repurpose it to the platform specifically. Don't take one piece of content and just post it everywhere.
Okay, I think we really took a deep dive in the world of Instagram and TikTok, and we kind of sidetracked from what we were discussing. So let's just go back again for a second. This is what happens, right? We start one conversation and then we end up somewhere really far away in the trenches.
It's the nature of creatives, isn't it?
I love that. That's what I was telling you at the beginning of the podcast. Like, just relax. Probably we have the questions, but we'll end up somewhere else. This is the beauty of this podcast. So I think going back to what we were discussing earlier regarding the metrics and the measure of success on social media, how do you determine the best platforms to use for businesses? Social media platforms, yeah. Okay, fine. So again, going back to identifying who your audience are, where they are, and from there you can look at people like your competition, you know, or people that are doing something similar. Let's say, for example, you're selling bathrooms. Go and look at the tap manufacturers and the white goods manufacturers, okay, and have a look, see where they're spending a lot of their energy, because, you know, that's likely to be they've tried and tested the research over time. So have a look and do your research about where your audience is spending their time and hanging out. Look at demographics, research, in, you know, the industry insights on who's doing what and where, age groups and stuff. But make sure you also do the ground research as well. Don't just look at reports. Then do one or two platforms really, really well. Get to know and test what works well on those platforms, and then choose another platform and then build that up. But what works on, you know, each platform will be different. So on one platform, video content might be king for you, whereas on another platform, it might be more text-based copy that will work well. Right. So per se, in a way or another, some platforms might be more suitable for your business style than others. So potentially, if you're in the corporate work, maybe LinkedIn would be a thing for you, or did I understood that correctly? Yeah. So B2B, you know, everyone that, you know, works in B2B will automatically say that LinkedIn is the place to go, which it is. And, you know, and to make sure that you have the right tone of voice for your audience. Don't put on a corporate tone if that's not your company's tone, you know, just because you think that you're in the B2B space. People at the end of the day are still people that are on LinkedIn. They're there in a professional capacity, but, you know, they're people at the end of the day. But it's really important to remember that those people that you're talking to on LinkedIn, they're also humans.
They're also on Instagram. They're also on Facebook. They're also on TikTok. They're on Twitter. So be mindful of that and just still keep communicating to those people. I think it's something like about 83% of men that are on LinkedIn are on Facebook. It's about 73% of women are on LinkedIn are on Facebook. So it's a high percentage. So just make sure that you aren't ignoring the other platforms just because you're B2B. Still be there. Still your saying your message. Just be mindful that people are there in a different capacity.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier about the algorithms. How do you stay up to date with the changes on social media, with the algorithms? How do you do that?
For me, it's a mixture of following industry leaders. I've got a list of a few people that I follow, and you sign up to their newsletters. They'll normally do newsletters once a week. Google alerts for different things that are happening in the moment. The platforms themselves will also give updates. We're at VUBA, we're an agency partner, so we're always the first to hear about new features. We should be always the first to hear about new features, but most of the time we are. And they all normally run good training courses and things like that to help us stay ahead of the curve, because for me, that's part of my job,
right?
Is to keep my team ahead of the curve so we can deliver the best jobs for our clients.
Right.
But it does take a long time. It's a time investment.
It takes a long time, and I think it's not something that you as a business owner can do by yourself, by the sounds of it. I think you should definitely hire an agency. I don't think hiring someone in-house would be as effective, I think, than actually hiring an agency. What do you think about this? What do you think? Do you think it's easier to hire someone in-house and have that person run the social media, or it's best to actually have an agency that does that for you? Let's balance them if we can. Put them in balance now.
Yeah. So definitely the pros of hiring an agency is that you'll get your agency working for you. Don't have sick days, don't have holidays, because there'll always be a team of people that'll be looking after you. But more importantly, we invest a lot of time in training to make sure that we're keeping up with the latest trends. I probably spend about at least half a day a week on, keeping up to date, training the team, making sure we're using best practices. But then we also have sight over all different business, the whole of the business landscape. So we can bring fresh ideas all the time. We can adopt ideas that are working in a different industry and bring them into an industry that's completely different. And it works really well because you get the opportunity to sort of disrupt the norm of what's going on in one particular industry. So, that's another benefit of looking at, having an agency look after you. We've got, as an agency, most agencies will have up-to-date software. We invest a lot of money in software, which again wouldn't be viable for an individual business to invest that much money in that sort of software that can give you much more detailed reporting. Detailed reporting, trends, scheduling, and that sort of thing. Things like when best time to post and things.
And also, I guess, is the engaging content as well that you create for the client specific to work for their audience,
yes.
Right? And how do you create that for your individual clients? Is that like a team of people that they work on? How does that work to creating engaging content that resonates with the business target's audience?
So the process is you do a discovery call with the client, and you talk about who their ideal customer is, what they've tried, look at what they've tried before in the past, what's currently trending at the moment, and then do the strategy, do the plan. Then we'll add into the plan any sort of national days that are going to be happening,
right.
Because they're always really good to extend reach, but also to give another angle on the business that you don't really get the opportunity to do through normal content. Things like Random Acts of Kindness Day is always really good because you can, it's a really good way to show the people within the business doing things that, you wouldn't normally talk about. And then we would make sure that every piece of content, I always talk about every single piece of content shouldn't be, it's not going to make or break the business. It's one piece in a bigger jigsaw puzzle. So you look at the business social media strategy as a complete puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Each piece of content is one piece in that. However, it needs to serve a purpose. Each piece of content needs to be purposeful. It needs to be informative or add value, or and it should all be about the person reading it, not be about the business.
Right. Oh, that's a good learning. That's a really good tip there as well. And when you create the content itself, how do you work with other departments? For example, from that business, let's take business A, right? They have as well an email marketing department, I don't know, website department. Do you work with them so you have like across all the platforms and a consistent message?
Yeah.
Or how does that work? How do you?
So it's really important to approach it from a holistic point of view. So everybody's working towards the same goal. And we work really, because we do, in our department, we do the email marketing as well. So we can make sure that we're delivering as much value. One of the things that we do all the time is try and build up email lists.
Right.
Because so making sure you've got multiple different channels. So your inbox or an email, a newsletter is just another platform. It's another channel, another way of being able to talk to your customers. So what we do in terms of, as an agency, you'll look at what the website design is. You'll talk to the designer. If we've designed in our agency, if the website has been designed in-house, we will get any social media templates designed, so to keep that consistency. We'll work with the content team that are writing website content to make sure that the tone of voice is carried through. And also then we work with the Google Ads team as well to make sure that all the messages that we're promoting, they might not be the same as what we do on social media and on pay-per-click, because the needs are different and the way that people are searching and see the ads are different. However, make sure that there is the consistency in the tone of voice and how we promote the company.
So is it important to be consistent through all the platforms in that case? What happens if you're not?
Then you're going to give your customers or people, you're going to give your audience sort of mixed messages, and they're going to be confused about what you stand for as a brand and, how they interact with you as a brand, especially from a social media point of view, because one of the objectives for social media should be about building a perception of your brand and what you stand for and your values, and you want to relay that to a customer. So if you kind of got different messages and it's a bit disjointed, then you're just going to confuse people.
So you mentioned earlier about your brand. So your brand is not just your logo. Because I know we had a conversation like a while ago about clients approaching, and they ask, you ask them do you have your brand in place? And they say, yes, we have our logo in place. So that's not it, right?
It's the same as if you judge all good looking people in the world as being nice and pure, and then all the less, aesthetically gifted people as being evil and horrible. You just, you wouldn't. Your brand is more than your logo. Your brand is more than your colours. Your brand is more than what you look like. Your brand is what you stand for, your values, how you carry yourself, and how you show up. That's, those are all the other sides of your brand.
Right. So would this be determined by you? Would you have like a one-to-one with a client and then establish like what your brand is, what your ethos, voice, tone, message, and so on? Is this something that you do as well?
Yes.
Is this something that you, sorry to interrupt you, is this something that you just do it a one-off like in an hour, or is it an extensive process?
It depends on the objective, it depends on the objective of the client and what their business, what their business model is really, because sometimes people will come to us and they know they've got plans where they're going to be evolving in 6 months. They'll normally come to us and have possibly a rebrand in mind, or that they're going to be doing something different in a period of time, or that's why they're coming to us, because they want to go through a transition. So we will work with the client to make sure that we help them all the way along. And to be fair, there's a business, a brand is never finished. It should never be complete. It should be consistently evolving all of the time. But again, that's why it's good to have an agency on hand, because to help hold your hand all the way, to make sure that you keep that consistency with fresh eyes.
And I think it's really important to discuss about the return of investment, right? You do get clients that they're interested to know a bit more about how soon can they see a return on investment on social. Normally, how long does that take? Like how many months, how many years? How does that work?
Again, it all depends on the business.
Can you do it in 2 months? Can I pay you today? Do you think it's going to work for next? Am I going to get next month loads of clients in? Is that how it works?
Oh my goodness.
Common questions that we get. So, okay, everyone, this conversation it's something that we had with Katie way before the podcast, and I think this is where we kind of connected. We clicked. We were discussing about how clients, they have expectations, high expectations, the moment they pay something. Second day, to see clients coming in, like storming in, and be like, "Wow, you spend so much money on your social media." They expect to get a return on investment really quick. And they fail to understand why you don't get that. They don't understand the process per se. So I think this is where me and you we quite clicked. Well, I was like, you know what, Katie, you should come into our podcast and let's discuss about it. Let's talk about it. So I think this is the point.
How I sum it up to people is, if it was as easy as going to get $5,000, which isn't a small sum, but you're going to get $5,000. Whack it down, and you're going to get an return on investment straight away. For every pound you put in, you're going to get 4 back, even double, even 2 back. People would be happy with that. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. Okay, so there's a reason why it's not, because there's a reason why everyone's not doing it. It's not for the faint-hearted. You've got to have patience, you've got to have consistency, you've got to have resilience, you've got to trust the process. So it's really important that we educate our clients on how the process works, that you do need a time investment. You need to think about how you buy a product. How many products do you wake up one day, see an ad and respond to and buy straight away? Most of the time it doesn't happen. So you've got to think about your buying process of your customer. So it's really important that you create the brand consistency, get the problem that you're solving, unearth it, then describe how you solve that problem, then you then ask for the sale. But that doesn't happen overnight. It's a period of time. People have got to learn to trust you. Reputability builds, repetition builds reputation builds customers. So it takes a long time to do that.
Is there like a minimum period of time that is, because I know Instagram was saying at one point years ago, I'm not gonna lie, it's not recently, it was minimum 6 months to a year. Is that still the case?
Again, depends on the business model. I say you need to be doing it for at least 6 months. You need to have the money to invest and the patience, and then obviously at the same time, that means you need to trust the people that you're investing your money with, not just the platforms, but the people that are running your campaigns. You need to be looking on at least 6 months. By month 3, you'll have an indication of if things are going in the right direction. But by month 6 should be where, right, okay, we've got it now, and now we've found the right formula for you and your audience. We now need to build it. But then what happens is, to keep in mind as well, once you've found the right formula, the algorithms will change, everything will change. So you need to be able to be fluid to be able to adapt.
Can you have different budgets each month, or should you be very specific? Like, I don't know, $5,000 that you just said earlier. Can you have month 1 $5,000, month 2 $3,000, month 5 $6,000? Can you always fluctuate in budgets, or should you have a specific budget, $5,000 each month for the next 6 months?
Every case is different. However, businesses that operate seasonally, you could look at fluctuating the budget. So probably you're best off to look at your overall budget for either a 6-month or 12-month period. And then we can look at adjusting the budgets where we see the trends will go. Good tools to look at for things like that, things like Google Trends and things like that. You can see what people search for more over the period of time. So there's loads of different tools that can assist with that as well. It's not just, put a finger in the air and we'll just guess it. So you can fluctuate your budgets, but again, it comes back to consistency is king.
What are some of the most common misconceptions about social media in the world of business, now that we're talking about misconceptions?
That you can put a post out there and people are going to want to buy your product.
Fair.
You can put a post out there and loads of people are going to see it. Again, probably not. That you can put loads of money into ads, and again, people are going to buy your product. Again, it's not always about, when we're talking about ads, it's not always about putting more money in will deliver more back. Again, that's not, again, you need to test and try, adapt and test and adapt and test over and over, and then to get the best use of your money. Again, we've talked about followers. Another misconception: the more followers you have, the better you are. The more people are going to see your post again, because that's not quite right. Influencers, we talked about influencers as well. Paying an influencer to put a post out about your product, again, probably isn't the right strategy for most businesses either, because if you think of every 100,000 followers that an influencer has, probably only about 3 to 5% of their organic followers will see the post that they put out. Then you think about, of that small percentage, how many of those are going to be your right customer demographic, or why are they following that influencer for different reasons? Then, if you're a regional business, how many of those are actually going to be within your region? So that's another misconception, paying someone a lot of money to promote your product.
It used to be quite popular for a while, having influencers, right? Loads of businesses would invest a lot of money bringing influencers, and now there's everywhere.
Yes.
Influencers, literally.
Yeah.
But I don't think they work as they used to work before. Or do they work? Is it still a good thing to get an influencer in and use them for the period of 2, 3, 4, 5 months? Is that still
the best uses of influencers as a general term would be for them to get content, have an influencer to be a content creator for you. So get them to create content that you can use as your brand over and over again, that you can post from your brand, speak with an influencer to see what they can do to support yours. How many posts will they do? Will they engage? That sort of thing. However, the true magic is in what's called like the micro influencers. So those are kind of your unsung heroes, I suppose. Every area has one. Every industry has. Well, I say one, loads. Let's, for example, if you are a hairdressing brand, okay, there'll be businesses that operate locally. They will have, doesn't have to be an independent local business, but where there's branches that people will come to their most local branch. There will be people in that area that are showing up all over the local Facebook groups, that are always talking about the different, and people will take notice of those people. So those are the people that you want to be tapping into. Those are the people that you'd want to give free hairstyles to, because they'll be talking about the great experience that they've had. Right.
So not any influencer will work for your business. You need to be actually looking even for them a bit more specific, and to be a bit more careful who you're accepting. That makes sense. Right. I think that will clarify a lot of things for a lot of businesses out there. And I guess you were mentioning earlier about the posts, right? The influencers will create a certain number of posts. But how many posts should you create as a business on a weekly basis to be effective and to be current, and to keep up your audience always up to date with your services or with your products or with your offers? How many should you?
Quality over quantity. Going from nothing to posting 5 times a week is going to drain you. So kind of look at what resources you have in house. Look at what budget you've got to employ an agency to do so for you. Just look at whatever is going to be able to keep you most consistent for the next 6 to 12 months. So don't put all your budget into seeing how well an agency can create content for you and give it a 3-month trial, because then what's going to happen at the end of that 3 months? You're better off doing 2 posts a week that add loads of value to your audience consistently for 6 months than you are doing 4 posts a week where you're trying to scrabble around, try and think of anything to talk about, and after 6 months you might burn out.
Can you solely rely on social media marketing, or should you invest in other platforms to get yourself out there, like SEO, Google Ads, email marketing? What would you recommend?
Yeah, cost no option, unlimited budget. Yeah, you'd be making sure that your website ranks well on Google and you're found for your key keywords on the first page of Google. You would want to dominate that. You'd want to dominate that search page of Google. It's what they call the real estate. So you appear in the first 4 listings at the top through Google Ads. You're then found organically through your keywords. You then popping up on social media. People visit your website. We can then, retarget them with retargeting ads on social media. They like what they see on your profile, so they like your page, and they'll see more of your content. And then they really like what you see. They're going to sign up to your newsletter. A really good way to make the most of your ad budget mentioned earlier, go for leads. Yes, of course, because all businesses want leads, but also run ads that offer value, offer maybe a lead magnet, or a way to build up your email list, because you spend a lot of money on ads, but only at that time, only around about 3% of people that see you are going to be ready to buy. But there's going to be another sort of 15 to 20% of people that will buy your product, but they're just not quite ready at that point. So start building relationships, offer them something valuable, get their email address, you continue the conversation through their inbox. And then when you continue to build that relationship, and when they're ready to buy, there you go. They'll be doing business with you.
Right. So let's recap for 1 second. If you're a business, I wouldn't say with unlimited budget, you should have in place your social media, your SEO, your Google ads.
Yep.
What am I missing out?
SEO, Google ads, email marketing, and social media content and ads.
Right. So all of this is basically I would say the secret recipe, but probably is the most recommended way forward for a business that is with an unlimited budget per se.
Yeah.
But how about small businesses to medium? What would you recommend them? The first, 3 platforms that they should use to get themselves out there?
Facebook and Instagram. And then depending on if they're B2B, definitely LinkedIn. If they've got the capabilities in-house to consistently build out content, or if they've got the budget to hire an agency, TikTok as well.
TikTok. And with Google ads, you didn't mention Google ads. Are they, why?
Well, actually, no, having said, sorry, it depends on what you're selling. Because say, for example, something like Skip Hire.
Right.
Okay, it's not a long thought out process. I want to hire a skip because I need it to be on my drive by tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to do a Google search and I'm going to call the one that looks most relevant, whether it be cost led or the fact they're telling me they can give me a skip by tomorrow, so they've got short lead time. However, if I'm looking to buy a kitchen or a bathroom, I'm not going to go and do business with the first one that pops up on a Google ad. I'm going to do my research. So I'm going to have a look at who are the websites that appear on a Google search. I'm then going to have a look at their social media, look at the website, look at their social media pages. And I'm going to do a lot more thorough research.
Right.
So it just depends on what the business model is. You kind of need to look at, again, going back to who your customers are and how they buy, the buying process that they go through when they look to buy your product or service.
Right, that makes sense. So then again, it's a bit of a research that you have to do, or to just, as you said earlier, sit down with an agency and have a conversation.
Yes.
Or just literally go to Vuba and you'll sort it out.
Exactly.
I think now that we're going closer and closer to the end of this episode, what are the next steps for Katie in the world of social media? What's next? Tell us what's next, Katie.
Well, Joe, I'm really glad you've asked me, because I'm really excited where we're going now, because I want to do more training. Training and educating businesses in how to use social media for their business, looking at businesses on their individual needs. First of all, I want to run some training courses on how to use individual platforms, how to use tools such as, Canva, for example, because, the Canva have just had, all the new exciting updates that they've had. So empower businesses to be able to use them. So training on individual platforms, training on how to use tools, training on either how to do strategy, or we do the strategy for them and then they can go and implement it as well. It's just another way that we can be able to reach and help more businesses.
And any advice for businesses that they're looking to invest in social media?
Make sure you're looking at doing it over the long term would probably be my biggest thing. So look at a 6 to 12 month budget, and be kind to your agency.
I like it how you highlighted that.
Be kind to your agency. Know that it's a long-term investment, the same as it would be for SEO. Know that it's a long-term investment. Work with your agency. There'll be agencies out there that do like a done-for-you service, which works well if you have people on the ground that can create images and take photographs and things like that to help feed the agency, and you've got a really good relationship with your agency, where so much so where they can engage on your behalf and talk, reply to messages and things like that. But the best output will always be when you have a partnership with your agency rather than a go away and get on with it.
Lovely. I feel that we covered quite a lot. We have busted loads of myths. We have discussed about your beautiful upcoming from print, from newspapers to social media management, and also head of social media management for VUBA. Thank you so much, Katie, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's been really lovely speaking to you, and can't wait to see you again in another episode. Maybe we're gonna touch more subjects and get more knowledge from you. Thank you so much, Katie.
Would love that. Thank you.